Today on the Lillian McDermott radio show / classroom, we're going to talk about the F word. Oh yeah, the F word. It's called forgiveness. Is there something happening in your life where you feel that is not sitting well? Maybe you're obsessing over it, or perhaps maybe there's something that you don't want to acknowledge to yourself that requires either forgiveness to others or yourself. Well, today's the day to start the process of letting go. So fasten your seatbelts because we're going to learn and grow together. Here we go. It's time to dance, Jason.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here. Right here, and when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for
you. This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott radio show / classroom, just know that we've been waiting for you. I'm so grateful that you're here, and know that this is a safe place you can turn to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening friend, will feel, and viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, I say that every time, and I want to encourage you to think of different ways where you can embrace this new truth so that it will set you free. Now, before I started the broadcast, before I hit the record button for YouTube, and before the people that are listening on podcast, did I say that already? Yeah. Before I said, this is the day that we talk about the F word. Yes, we are. And what is that F word? It's forgiveness. So if any of you are going down a trail going, I can't believe she said the F word. Well, I did say the F word, but it's forgiveness. And so what I want to start thinking about is a time where you felt that you could never forgive, that you could never, because some people think that forgiveness equals condoning. And we're going to talk today with Jason Stephenson, and you can find Jason Stephenson meditations with over 1 million followers, and life expansions with Jason Stephenson on YouTube. He's also everywhere. You can, he's also on Jason.
At a side, and here's Lillian there, back on live.
I was about to run away. I don't know what's happening.
I've taken over the show, Lillian.
That's okay. Keep going.
I was just explaining about that forgiveness is not about, when we choose to forgive, it's not about the idea of saying that the behavior has been, is excusable, or that it's not about pushing it aside and saying, I'll deal with that. I'll move on in life. It's much deeper than that, and requires us to have, to do some deep inner work and to have courage to move forward. It's not an easy task by any means.
Yeah.
And,
well, I would love to talk today about practical ways to starting this process, because I know there have been times in my life, and I've read stories about forgiveness, and I've had to, when you have children, especially when they disappoint, And of course, I hate to say that in a way that I don't want them to feel that they're a disappointment, but there's certain things that happen, and you as a young parent or going through this and you wanting the best for your kids, they do something that you feel, oh, this is just going to change their life, right? But then there's a lot of feelings, you lose control, there's a lot of things that happen, whether it's your children or people that you love. Maybe they said something to you that doesn't, sit the right way. And, at what point do you allow forgiveness to be a part of that relationship so it can continue to grow? Or at what point do you say, I'm going to love you from afar and say, I need to do this for my benefit. I love you. I accept you. I forgive you. But at this point, I need to love you from afar. So I would love to talk about that and explore it with Jason Stephenson. So I always say it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge. And I'm grateful, Jason, that you're here every month on a date in the classroom. So you're the teacher today. So thank you.
You're most welcome, Lillian. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you and to be here with this beautiful crowd of people as well.
Oh my God. I was going to start reading them, and then I'm thinking, okay, well, there's already, I don't know how many comments already. So I think we'll maybe take some time after the show. And today I have a hard out. So it's unfortunate because I could go like 2 hours with Jason Stephenson talking, because this whole thing started, Jason, this whole topic of forgiveness started last month when we spoke about the miracle of love. So I'm calling this show The Miracle of Forgiveness, because forgiveness is a miracle. And I'd love to maybe talk about, some of the myths about, and I was saying that some people think forgive and forget, but that's not true unless you have dementia. You want to remember so that you don't repeat it, right? So it's forgive and grow. Forgive and grow, not forgive and forget. That puts forgiveness at a disempowerment. If I forgive you, then that means that I am allowing your behavior. No, not at all. It just means that behavior is not going to change me. Anything that you'd like to add about the myths of forgiveness?
I think, look, if we want, I think we all want happiness in our lives. We all want love. We all want happiness. And I think the thing is that we cannot really have both fully. We cannot be truly happy deeply inside if we continue to hold onto bitterment, anger, resentment, all that sort of thing. It's almost impossible to, if you've got that, you can't segment that and just say, well, that's there and that's going to stay there. Because what does that do inside? It eats us from the inside out. It eats us away. And if we don't deal with it on a moment-to-moment basis, as it goes on, it will not go away. It will continue to fester inside. And so I think that this is something we have to, that we have to look at and remember. Yeah.
Last month, I think I shared the story of the woman who lost her only son to a young boy that killed her son. Do you remember that story?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So for those of you who want to hear that story, it's a very, very powerful story of how forgiveness not only transforms your life, but it transforms the lives of others. And it also helps, it's the gift that keeps on giving. It really is. Was there ever a time, Jason, that you felt that you didn't want to forgive?
Absolutely. Absolutely. For 14 months, 1.5 years, for an incident that happened to myself. And there was fury and there was anger, and I wasn't going to forgive. I had no intention to forgive. That's the truth of it. So I think forgiveness, definitely, it's not something you can be pressured into doing or said, that's the best thing to do. I better forgive. No, 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 no. It has to be a conscious choice. It's a decision to forgive. And yeah, definitely. When if you're not ready to forgive, you won't forgive.
So 14 months, you went 14 months and you were not, did you feel like with me, I mean, there have been times where I was so angry. I remember in my situation, I was so angry that I began to experience without, because you put it away, you think, okay, it's not going to affect me. But every time you think about that person and that person's name, it does something to your body. And of course, we know that whenever we don't deal with something, whenever that there's past trauma, anytime that we're not dealing with an issue, our body and our brain tries to realign. And the body or the gut says to the brain, hey, we need to deal with something here. And the brain says, no, it's too painful. I'm not going to deal with it. So the body says, you need to deal with it. No, yes, no, yes, no. So then eventually the body says, okay, we need to be in an alignment. We know you need to deal with pain. Bam, there goes your back. Bam, there you fall, or you get in a car accident, or your refrigerator doesn't open. Whatever it is, it will allow, it's because it's a vibration. It's a vibration
Absolutely.
that occurs. And I remember after, you know, there have been many times, I have been taught many times unconditional love from people that, you know, what a great gift, right? To be taught unconditional love, but how you get there is not so great.
Exactly, exactly. And, you know, it's been scientifically proven. I don't know if you've heard of the doctor named Robert Enright from Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin. He has done amazing studies on forgiveness. And the studies were, it was proven that when you do forgive, it does alleviate anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. And he did this on a group of people across all ages and from often really traumatic events that had taken place in their lives. So a lot of emotional stuff.
Wow.
And he found that when someone had forgiven, sometimes depression had lifted almost instantaneously.
Isn't that amazing?
And that's just, yeah, it isn't. It's absolutely amazing. So it's not just a wishy-washy thing. It's actually, it's the damn truth out there. It's been, studied out there. So.
Well, that's a good myth that forgiveness is for others. Really, it's for yourself.
Perfect. Yeah.
It's for ourselves. So there was a time that, like I was saying, that I needed to forgive someone. And every time I thought of their name, it created tension in my entire body. Put it aside, thinking that everything is fine. I just chose not to remember that person's name. But once in a while, it would happen. And then I started developing abdominal pains and body aches. I was feeling joint pains. And knowing what I know with the teachers that I've learned from, I knew that that was a sign that there was some toxicity in my body, right? And forgiveness, lack of forgiveness could be a toxin as well. So I journal every day. Well, at the time I was journaling every day. Now I'm writing a book. So one of the things that I realized that this was something, and you know what? There is so much righteous anger and justifiable anger out there that we forget that the antidote to that is forgiveness. It's gratefulness, all of those things. And so I remember I was writing in my journal, and I was, writing, like, I had read the quote by Buddha that said, holding on to anger and resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And at that moment I thought, okay, if my body is going through toxicity, I need to sit down. So I started writing, and my first question is, how can I forgive? How do I forgive? And when I journal, I wait for that response back. And that's my intuition. Some people call it a higher power, the voice of God, whatever it is that you want to call it. I call my intuition the voice of God. And so what came back to me was like, how can I forgive? And the response was, how I have forgiven you. There have been times in my life where I have not been at the best behavior, and I've asked for forgiveness from my creator. And so that was the first thing. I'm thinking, whoa, if I want to be forgiven, I need to start forgiving. And so that's when I decided that today, I said, and I wrote in my journal, today I will start the process to forgive. I will no longer hold anger towards that person in my heart, mind, body, spirit. And I release you. I release you. And so then what I started doing, and I don't know what your practice is when you're in the process of forgiving, what I started doing was sending them love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. I used my closing for the show, classroom, to send that person that kind of abundance and love. And at first it felt very uncomfortable, almost like you had to clench your teeth to say, "Arr." But I, little by little, I was able to say it freely and joyfully, to the point that after that, I think maybe 6 months had gone by. And of course, I met this person again at a party, and they were there. And I was able to go to them, give them a hug, and say I've missed them. But there's a difference. There's a difference between someone who's abusive and there's someone who hurts you in a different way, And so I was able to resume that relationship, knowing that person could never be trusted again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. What would you say about that? And I'd love to hear your process.
My process is similar to yours. What I like to do, Lillian, is, well, first of all, the first thing I need to do is to, of course, acknowledge the anger and I don't know, whatever you're feeling, if that's anger, disappointment, frustration, hurt, pain. And I poured that out. I remember, with this incident that I was king hit and my jaw broken and teeth smashed in.
Yeah.
And I was so angry. I remember being in hospital and I couldn't talk. My mouth was wired shut for 2 months. And I remember just getting someone to get me a pen and paper. And I wrote and wrote and wrote and poured out all that rage. It was absolute rage. That was the first stage for me, was to get that out, and of course then I needed help. I had to go to a counselor, a psychologist, to deal with that myself, to deal with the hurt, to deal with the fear. There was a lot of fear attached to that as well. So, obviously there's certain things that you need help with. You can't expect to deal with it on your own. And then there was, interesting enough, there was tapping, the EFT process. And that's when I was introduced to tapping.
Because I've done shows on tapping, how does it work for yourself? How do you know what to say? Because when I've done tapping on the show, they pretty much tell me what to say and I follow along and it feels good, but how do you do it on your own, Jason?
Look, and I could have been doing it wrong or right, but I just every time, for me, it was also fear. There was a lot of fear and anger. And so I would be out walking and, kind of looking around, thinking I was going to be, and just right now. And so just, right now I'm feeling this, but I know that this is okay. And I just kept doing it my way. You know, it wasn't exact, might not exactly be, but it was working and it was helping me.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know.
Absolutely. And during my times at home, how I was dealing with that eventually, and this took me time, Lillian. This wasn't just 3 months later, 4 months later. This was like 6, 7, 8, 9 months later.
Yeah. But you were working towards it, right?
I was working towards it. Yeah. I would start to sit down, and what I could see is when I sit down, and you could call it a meditation, you could call it contemplation, but I would sit down and I would see the person come towards me. And so initially that brought up, you know, there was anxiousness, and there was a lot of anxiousness and a lot of fear, but I saw that person come towards me. And then I eventually got to see that person closer and closer. And then I saw that person pass through me, just like that. And once I got to that stage, it becomes so much easier for me to deal with. And it was more about the oneness that we aren't separate. And again, this might sound wishy-washy to people, but it helped me and it worked for me. And so I'd close my eyes and I would see that guy just going like that, passing through. And I realized it was okay. I'm not saying what was okay that happened, but right now at this moment, everything is okay. And that has passed on now. That has moved on. There's nothing I could do about that. But right now, I'm safe and I'm okay. And then I got to the point where I actually, I held no resentment or judgment at all. And I remember speaking about this with my family, and my family were furious. And they say, how can you do that? How can you forgive that person? I remember that. And I just say, I do. I don't feel that hatred anymore. I felt that. I've got that out of my system. And a lot of people sort of almost unfriended me, didn't want to be my friend because they couldn't understand my forgiveness.
That's a great point, that the standard or the herd, if you want to go with the flow, if you go with the herd, you might say it's okay not to forgive because it's understandable. People don't understand the other side of the lack of forgiveness. There's forgiveness, but there's the lack of forgiveness. And what are the symptoms? What are the side effects that happen after, you choose not to forgive? I was driving, this was after 9/11, and it was it was like the 5th anniversary or the 10th anniversary of 9/11. And for those of you who live outside the United States, that was the day that the towers went down in New York that were hit by terrorist planes. And there was a sign that said, "We will never forgive." And that was when I started changing my perspective of forgiveness. And I'm like, we must forgive, because if we don't forgive, we will be corrupted as a nation. But try to explain that to somebody is very difficult. So all we can do is individually be able to forgive. No, I don't condone what happened, but I will always remember it. I will always remember it. And there's a difference between remembering something and the emotion that it evokes. 9/11 evokes sadness, but within that sadness and within that tragedy, so much good came out. It was the first time that the nation came together with our politics, the first time that people were coming together to help out. Volunteers were at the site. So much love and kindness came from that. I understand, and I will not diminish the fact that many lives were taken too soon. We can focus on that and lack of forgiveness, or we can focus on remembering all the wonderful things that, remembering the things that did happen, writing that day instead of hate towards a particular extremist group, which we need to stay away from. I'm talking about remembering that day in honor of the people, in honor of the difference that they made. And it's a different, I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly, but it's a difference in perspective of we will never forgive versus I will always remember.
Oh, of course it is. I'm quite shocked, actually, when you say that we will never forgive, that was even put up there, to be honest. But I understand the intention behind that.
Oh yeah, it's very easy to, and like I said, it's very easy to understand righteous anger. It's very easy to understand justifiable anger. But what it does to us, it implodes our body.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, Lillian, I mean, not only does it affect us, but that anger comes out in other ways to our families, to our children, and when we die, if we've passed that on, if we
Through our DNA. Yeah.
Yeah, many people live with that, for years and years until they die. And then that is passed on generation after generation. And so it really is important for us to, not just for our happiness, not just for us, but for people after us as well.
Yes, absolutely. Because they've done enough research to see that this stuff gets implanted, it gets imprinted into our DNA, our white blood cells, and that gets transferred on to the next generation. And it's biblical too. It says, that the sins of our fathers will be felt 4 generations. And so there's a lot of, you can't just take that verse and just ignore it. What does that mean? Well, what it means is, the anger and resentment and bitterness and all those things can be handed down too. And the person who's receiving it has no idea where that came from. They just feel angry all the time. People don't understand this. People don't know this. And there are studies out there that they've researched it and they've learned about it. But this is not the stuff that they report on in the media. This is the stuff that, they report, about all the horrible things that are happening out there. Now, we've talked about, Jason, I want to change a little bit here. We're talking about forgiving others. But many times, we don't forgive ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love for you to share some thoughts there.
This can be even sometimes just as tough, and also our awareness to that sometimes we're not even aware that we need forgiveness for what we've done. We're not aware of even how we've treated ourselves.
Yes.
And we hold on to this. And I think this is the beauty of where meditation comes into play, because we become each day more and more, greater and greater awareness of what is going on, what feelings are coming up for us. And without that awareness, we can continue on and we have no idea that we even need to be forgiven, because we don't even know what we're doing, what emotions are going on in our body. Yes.
Interesting enough, that's the first step, is awareness, right?
Absolutely. I find it, to be honest with you, I find that tough.
Yes.
Forgiveness of myself, and it really takes time and thought. Yeah.
Well, with a guy that hurt you so much, you were able to forgive him. And so I would think that it would become easier to forgive yourself, wouldn't it?
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, because, if you were able to forgive that person, imagine this is like a double whammy. You're forgiving yourself. Because if you forgive the other person, it heals you. If you forgive yourself, it heals you. But if you don't forgive yourself, you're still holding on to it. You're still holding on to the pain. Plus it hurts you. That's the double whammy.
I think though, Lillian, what I say about this awareness sometimes that, personally for me, I've been, the way I've treated myself, that sometimes I have not been aware of what I'm doing, not been aware of the thought process of what's going on. Obvious things that I've done, I can forgive myself, that external things, and I've, been involved in the way, I was doing drugs and the way I treated people back then. And that I have worked on. And yes, I've totally forgiven myself for that behavior. But there's small things on a daily basis that can come up. Just small things that if I am not aware of what I'm doing, then that can go by, and that ends up clouding also my self-esteem. It begins to affect the self-esteem as well. I'm not sure if you understand here where I'm coming from here, but it's yeah, let me just think about this.
Yeah. Well, I want to acknowledge you with your visualization of the person who harmed you. You said that you visualized them coming towards you until they went through you and on the other side. But that is exactly how we need to deal with stress and how we deal with anxiety or pain or a certain situation that makes us angry, is that we acknowledge the anger, we feel the anger, or we feel whatever disappointment, disillusion, whatever it is, but then we need to let it go through us. That's the difference between, I once asked Eckhart Tolle, I haven't been able to interview him here in the classroom, or hasn't been a teacher here, but I was able to be in a conference and he picked me to ask a question. I was like, my heart was pounding. I was so excited. And I asked him the question,
that guy.
Because he's just all about, instant, now, done. And I'm like, as a life coach, I'm dealing with people who can't release whatever it is. Are you saying that you don't even acknowledge it? You don't allow it to, to go? And he said, okay, you acknowledge it, you feel it, but don't let it take like residence in you.
Yes.
And that's what you did with this guy.
Yeah. That makes sense. So you don't follow the path of the anger or whatever you're feeling. You just acknowledge it, that it's there, it is, but not letting it stick.
Yeah, you feel it. You journal about it. And I would say it's like, and I want to take a little break here because I want to talk about how to get a hold of the website and my sponsors, and acknowledge my sponsors if you don't mind. There is a page at whenyouneedafriend.com that's called 100% responsibility. And so you click on that and there's 4 questions that you answer, but you must answer them without blame, shame, fault, or duty. It is what it is. And that's the way you answer these questions. And it'll take you from that victim mentality, because we are victims and we continue being a victim every time we relive this incident. So if you can take it from, the 4 questions and answer the 4 questions, and then make it to the 4th question, that moment you will feel empowered. You will see that this didn't happen to you. It happened for your greater good. Sometimes it's hard to see at the beginning, but, stepping back and seeing it from maybe an airplane, maybe you can see the future or the past. But then you realize that this happened for my greater good, not just for that person who got away with whatever it was that they got away with. And so I want to encourage all of you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, become a subscriber. And while you're there, click onto all my social media, follow me, like me, share it with your friends, make sure that this classroom gets bigger, and go to the enrolled student. That's where you go to the enrolled student. You can be a part of being a sponsor of the show. You can be a part of the classroom and say, I'm enrolling in the classroom. You click on that, and then there's some perks that you get from being a part of an enrollees. So go to whenyouneedafriend.com, click onto I think it's the little cap and gown with the little diploma, and see different ways that you can help. There is a cost to doing this show, to doing the classroom, and there is a cost. And so if instead of me chasing around sponsors, I can focus on making the classroom better for all of us. And so if you can take a look at that. Also, check out my YouTube channel, subscribe there. The more people that subscribe, and Jason, you have been wonderful to promote my YouTube videos and all that, and my channels and my pages. So I thank you for that.
I love what you do. I love what you do.
Thank you. And because of that, the more people that tune into this new truth, the freer they can get. And I'm not saying my life is perfect, but I'm saying that, it takes a process. You got to go through the process, and we just need to trust the process, because it's going to bless us. Eventually, everything blesses us. We just need to dig out with our soul shovels and dig until we see that new truth. And so I want to encourage you to subscribe and follow and like all my social media. But then there's a button there. I told you about the enrolled student, but I also would like to encourage you to check out my sponsors. Sponsors like Liberty Health Share, Keep Me Safe Organics, which are beauty products for your entire body that are synthetic free, all organic. It's all I use on my skin. And when you buy from them, if you click onto the Keep Me Safe, you get 10%, put the code word Lily10, and you get 10% your entire purchase. You have first alternative care. So if you live in the United States and you're traveling anywhere around the world, or even at home, your entire household gets family practice, dermatology, and 3 hours of mental health counseling for $35 a month. So click onto that one if you're interested. Dr. Stephen Grable will be here tomorrow, and he will talk about chelation therapy. And so he's a sponsor. He's decided to stand next to me and say, I am sponsoring you. I believe in this your show. And Ian, he's standing by. He's an alternative, functional, holistic MD in Jacksonville Beach. So please, if you live that area or close to, you can drive, worth the drive. He's my doctor now. And also the pharmacy in Merritt Island, mention my name, and you get 20% off all your he does topicals. He also helps your dogs, your pets. He does compounded medications and more. So those are the people that have stood next to me and said, we believe in you, and we want to encourage you to check out the enrollment page. And if you want to be a part of it, I welcome you to do that. But okay, so Jason, going back to forgiveness, because this is we could do a series on forgiveness. You and I can do a webinar just on forgiveness. And so what we're talking about here is, you can forgive somebody else. But most importantly is self-love and forgiveness. And I've got that 90-day challenge to self-love ebook that I want to encourage all of you. As a subscriber, you will get a copy of that, and you can go through it. And that will allow you to see all the teachers in your life that have created. And a teacher can be something that you don't want, and a teacher can be something that you do want. Either way, you're learning and growing. And so is there anything you would like to add about self-love and forgiveness, Jason?
It's something that I work on self-love on a daily basis, because for many years I did not love myself. So it's something that I continue to work on, and through the process of meditation and of being of service too. And when I am of service, when I am giving to others, I'm giving to myself as I do that. It's not just it works both ways, but it's something, it's self-love and doing the loving kindness meditation, which I might do later on here.
Yes.
Have some time.
Yes, that will be, by the way, this is after the show, after you hear the theme song, Jason's going to do a meditation on forgiveness, which is the loving kindness that he just talked about.
Mm-hmm. But constant work for me, daily work.
Daily awareness that
Yeah.
you need to love yourself. It's good to know. People think that uh, just because you're so successful that you've got everything figured out and that you don't have to worry about anything. But the reality is, and this is one of the things I love about you, is that you're so human. You're so human. And
I can't be anything more, Lillian. I can't be anything more.
I don't know. You're a superhero. You're a superhero to many. You've created some great things out of, after you're told that you have a particular diagnosis, you could have crawled up in a ball and said, I'm done. But you said, no, my life is beginning. You redefined it.
Absolutely. Every day, I don't know about you and the listeners, but every day I believe that it's a new chance to begin again. Every single day.
Yes.
Of course, as you're aware, and some of my listeners might be aware, I'm still doing a course in miracles and just going deeper and deeper and learning so much about myself and the world I live in, and
Yes.
Developing my compassion too, for myself and for others as well, and for my little dog Dharma.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about something else. Some people think that if they forgive somebody, that they must trust them. And again, I want to say that if someone that you love abuses you, a spouse, a friend, a neighbor, whoever they are, if there's abuse of any kind, then that's when there is like a little clause there. It's, if you forgive that person, that does not mean you need to trust them again. Some people equate trust and forgiveness in the same level, and it is not. It is not the same. So that's when you choose to forgive them. And until they are showing signs of growth and progress, 6 months, a year down the road, that's when you can start bringing them back into your life again. That's what I've learned, and that's what I encourage the people that I work with. And so what do you think about that, Jason?
I totally agree with that, Lillian. They are absolutely two separate issues. You're working on the forgiveness is your internal stuff that's going on. If your trust has been broken by whatever's happened, this is another thing that is going to take time of itself to deal with and to develop that trust again. And it's up to that person to show you that they're changing, and they may not change, and you may not ever trust them again. But if you've done that, that forgiveness work from your end, then you'll set yourself free.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That if that you don't trust them yet, absolutely, that's okay.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean. Yeah, because remember, forgiveness is for us. Forgiveness is to set. What we're saying is, your action is not going to make me as bitter as you are. Your behavior is not going to change me. If it changes me, it's to bring me to a higher level of understanding. That I will accept.
I heard this book by Michael Wickett. It's called Forgive and Be Free. I've been listening to this audio book, and in it he speaks of if we hold on to that anger and resentment and bitterness inside ourselves of not being unforgiving, we're doing that. We're pulling our own life and tearing our own life apart inside out, while the person that committed whatever they've committed, the abuser, could be on a remote island sipping champagnes and not giving a damn. And so it really is, it's not about them. It's about, and really that's self-love. self-love and forgiveness really go hand in hand.
Yeah. Yes.
Because if we really want, if we really love ourselves, then we will not we will not want to hold on to that bitterness and anger and resentment. But again, this is a personal thing, and this is a decision that we have to make. And there's no point in, you and I sitting here saying that you must forgive. And of course, this is a decision that people make in their own time.
Yes.
Whether or not they choose to do that, that's totally up to them.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right. But they need to know, I know that Dr. Furman comes on, he says, hey, listen, if somebody is told that, smoking crack helps them, or they think that smoking crack is good for them, after you tell them, no, it doesn't help you, then once they know the truth, then they're in choice. They need to make that choice. People eat sugar all the time. People, have behaviors all the time. But once you realize that this is hurting you, now, boom, it's time to change. Right? And
that's it. That's all you can do. To spread that awareness and to wish everyone that we want, that we want people to be, I want people to experience joy and happiness and inner peace.
Yes.
And that, again, with being unforgiving, that's really hard to experience inner peace.
Yes. And part of lack of forgiveness is holding grudges, removing the person from your life without giving them the opportunity to say, I'm sorry, or to say, to say the person, you hurt me. Being able to have the courage. Let's say it's something that happened. Maybe someone said an unkind word and you took it to heart, but you walked away. You closed off the relationship. You said no more. That's unfair to the other person because the other person may not know that they said anything to hurt you. Mm-hmm. So it's important that the person who feels that they've been wronged, they vocalize it. We're not talking just about murder or, beating somebody up or anything to that effect. We're talking about little things in life that we hold on to, like, maybe not turning off the light or moving the shower a certain way or not locking there's certain things that we hold grudges for, little itty bitty tiny things that will ultimately cause us to implode. If we choose not to say, okay, find your voice, say, that really bothered me, and this is why. And let's have a conversation about it. And if the other person says, screw you, then now you have a decision to make. Is this person really want what's best for you? Or are they a taker or are they a giver? And, it's always about choices. What do we choose about that person now? Now that you've voiced your opinion, and you gave the person a chance to say, oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, how many times has somebody cut you off on the road?
So many times.
So many times. Of course. Okay, now take the other side of that. How many times have you cut somebody off on the road? Right?
A few times as well, exactly.
That's right. Giving the other person the benefit of the doubt keeps that escalation going to grudges, resentments, ending relationships for something so small. So I wanted to talk about that too, because, so far we've been talking about huge things, but sometimes something little can be held on to. And here's another thing, Jason. I was giving a presentation and I was talking about forgive and grow. Some people say forgive and forget, but I say forgive and grow in this presentation. And this woman said, I want to forget. I'd rather forget. I don't want to remember it about, because I was talking about dealing and answering the 4 questions and all. She goes, I don't want that. I said, well, forgive and forget is like saying dementia. I'm going to forget everything because the brain will say, fine, you want to forget that. You're going to forget everything. Right. And so she goes, well, I welcome dementia. And I went, no, don't do that. Don't welcome dementia.
No.
So I said to her, that if we were to go through all the steps that we need to go through, perhaps maybe she can see the beauty in what she went through in her childhood, and that created who she is and how not to be. But no, she wanted dementia. She'd rather have dementia. Talk about self-implosion.
And that whole idea of when she says forgive and forget, in truth, she is not forgetting. She's still, it's just pushing it down.
Pushing it down.
Pushing it down.
Pushing it down. So realizing that we're human and we also make mistakes and we do little things to rub people, poke people in the eye, that we need to just say, okay, wait a minute. Did you mean to insult me here? Or did you, can we talk about this? And having the other person, giving that other person that opportunity, practicing compassion, maybe. And here's one that I wanted to say from my article that I wrote on embracing the S and F word, is maybe you can't forgive the person who hurt you as an adult. But perhaps with compassion, you can see that that person was a child who was possibly abused themselves. Would you be able to forgive the child within that person? What do you think of that, Jason?
That's beautiful. I think that's a beautiful way to look at it, because if we can look at that person as a child, that they're an injured, a hurt, abused child themselves. They've gone through traumatic things themselves. If we can look at that and see that person as, at that particular time, they've done the best they could with the awareness and everything that they've had themselves.
Yeah.
That's what they've done.
Yes.
Out of what they know and their awareness at that time it's happened.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I think that's a beautiful way to look at it too, is that if you can begin to see that person as a child, that makes it just a little bit more easier to be able to offer that forgiveness.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so we're getting close to the first portion of our show at the classroom, which is for for podcast. But I just want to say thank you so much, Jason. It's jasonstephenson.net. You can also find him on YouTube everywhere. Jason Stephenson's meditation and life expansions, which is part of what he's doing. I was interviewed by Jason Stephenson. I'm excited. That was fun, wasn't it?
That'll be coming up in probably 2 months.
2 months. That's how busy he is.
Bit of a way off. No. Yeah.
One thing that I do want to say is that, forgiveness is key. Forgiveness is key. And if you just allow yourself to sit back and say, what do I want for myself? Which is to be healthy. And part of being healthy, a step might be to take inventory and say, okay, this is one of the things on my checklist that I need to start doing. And that love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance, start sending that to that person, because what you send out into the universe will come back to you. So if you're sending out, damning the person, telling them to go to hell, guess what's going to come back to you? So send them love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance, or whatever it is that you want to add. And Jason, I'm looking forward to our meditation on forgiveness after the show.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. And please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Jason Stephenson, wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Okay. I had something I wanted to say and it completely slipped my mind. And I can't excuse myself for this fast that I have been doing, which I'm on my second day or day number 7 of a 5-day water cleanse or water fast. And so, but it just like was in there and I'm like, I wanted to say it so bad. And then it just like poof, went away. But I'm sure it'll come back to me.
You've finished that fast now?
Oh yeah, I broke the fast on Sunday. Sunday was I broke fast, and today's Monday. So today I had my last consultation with Dr. Michael Clapper, who's been unbelievable, and so tomorrow, actually on Friday, we'll be putting together a video of the fastcation girls that we started together, and some of the insights afterwards. But I'm reintroducing, it's called refeeding. I'm refeeding my body.
So liquids to begin?
I'm having liquids. So yesterday was all about it was about, let me see, broth. I put on YouTube a recipe for my homemade broth, vegetable broth, and watermelon. That's all I ate yesterday. And then at night, I really had to. I cooked up a sweet potato. Oh my God! It was like all the food I'm eating right now is just like tastes like heaven.
Oh, I bet you it does. I bet you it does.
It was very, very interesting doing the fast. Such a spiritual experience, by the way, Jason.
I could imagine. I actually sensed it when I was watching one of your videos. I sensed this. There was something more there.
Yeah.
Something, about it. Something deeper.
And, as I was doing the fast, I was looking at the different scriptural references to fasting, and usually there's prayer and fasting, and as I was doing when I first started the fast, I thought this was going to be all about not eating food. What caught me off guard, that this was truly a spiritual experience for me, and I wonder if somebody needs to forgive. I wonder if fasting would help them get this out of their system and bring it up so that you can deal with it, because you're in a very peaceful state. Maybe it's because you're so weak. But there were times, Jason, that I had so much energy and so much focus, and then I'd have to take a nap. And, so if you go to YouTube, you'll find from day 1 to today, which today is day 7, because he just wanted to check up on me and to see how was the introduction of the food and how I was feeling. And then on Friday or Thursday, I think I'm going to post on YouTube the final one for the fast, which is us coming together, the girls that worked with me on this, and talking about what we learned, gifts and lessons. And so stay tuned for that one. It was a very unique experience. And I'm thinking that, prayer and fasting, perhaps maybe because you are closer to your creator at that point, you're like begging. But you know what, Jason? I wasn't hungry once. Not once.
That's something in itself.
And I eat every 2 hours.
Wow. Because as I said to you when I just did the juice cleanse, and it was for one day, and the next day I was hungry and I thought, no, I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah. I remember it was the day you interviewed me, right? It was the day you interviewed me.
Yes.
Oh, yes. That's okay. Next time you do it, let's talk about maybe I'll support you. Call in every day and I'll cheer you on, and that way it'll help you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Maybe. So now I know that you guys didn't want to hear all that about the fasting, but Jason is going to give us a special meditation, and it originally comes, you said, from Love and Kindness meditation.
Loving kindness, yeah. It's originally from a Buddhist It's a Buddhist meditation,
Okay.
and I'm just going to adapt it just a little bit so it's shorter and so it's more in alignment with where we're going today.
Yeah, with forgiveness. Yes. Okay.
Mm. So let's go, guys. And so this will only take, we can only do this for a few minutes, so it's not going to take too much time. And just sitting upright and allowing your eyes close if you choose. You don't have to, that's up to you. And just putting your hands, just resting them there gently on your thighs, in your lap, or if you're lucky enough to be lying in bed, you can stay there in bed too. And I'm going to say some phrases, and all you have to do is breathe and to mentally repeat these phrases to yourself. And this meditation is all about compassion, developing compassion. So let's begin. Just taking in a few deep breaths, sending that breath all the way down to that belly area. Getting in touch with this moment. And just repeating after me. May I be well.
May I be well.
May I be safe and free from suffering.
May I be safe and free from suffering.
And may I be happy.
And may I be happy.
Now bring to mind someone that you care about. It could be your children, a friend, your parent. And just repeat. You can repeat this mentally. You don't have to repeat it out loud. It's up to you. May you be well. May you be safe and free from suffering. May you be happy. And just see that other person receiving that message clearly. And now bring to your mind someone that is going through a difficult time, hardship at the moment. And we'll send this message to them. May you be well. May you be safe and free from suffering. May you be happy. And quite often in life, it's easy to extend compassion to people that we know and people that we love and care about. That can sometimes be harder for people that we don't know or people that have done wrong by us. And we're going to extend this out now to people that we don't know. This could be just community members, people you see in the street, a shopkeeper. May you be well. May you be safe and free from suffering. And may you be happy. And see them receiving this message. And finally, we're going to take it one step further now. And we're going to offer this as a gift of compassion to someone that has hurt us in the past. It doesn't have to be a traumatic hurt, but someone that is, you feel a little bit of resentment towards or anger. And see if you can visualize this person now. and sending this message to them. May you be well. May you be safe and free from suffering. May you be happy. Just seeing them receiving that. And finally, now we're just going to extend it out to all beings, the planet as a whole. May all beings and plant life be well. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be happy. Taking a few deep breaths. And just coming back now. You can wiggle your fingers and toes just to come back now into your present surroundings. And when you're ready, just gently opening your eyes and realizing that you've given a gift of compassion to yourself and to the world at large, and to possibly people or a person that you've had trouble dealing with.
That was great. I read a book every day. It's part of my meditation. It's called Spirit. Oh gosh, Everyday Spirit. Everyday Spirit. And that same meditation was the last 2 days of my fast.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So when you were doing that, I was like, okay, I recognize this, but
Perfect
so
alignment.
much better when you guide it than when I read it.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
And,
Yes.
and like I said, part of when we fast, there's things that come up. And I don't know if I've shared with you the goldsmith and how they make gold, or the silversmith and how they make silver. Do you know that? Do you know the
Please do.
story? Okay.
No.
So a goldsmith, they heat up the gold to the highest level. And as it starts bubbling, they scrape off all the impurities that are in the gold. And they keep scraping it and scraping it off, and it rises up, and then they scrape it off again. And do you know when they're done? When they can see their reflection on the gold. And so when you think about that, we also are being tested. And when we go through things, our imperfections rise to the surface, whether it's through anger, whether it's lack of forgiveness, whether it's whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And when you forgive, and when you do the things that, to build that bridge, you get to scrape that layer off. And then again, something happens and it rises to the surface. We scrape it off again. And that's the process of life. That is the process of life. And then until we see that reflection of compassion, the reflection of a higher power, our Creator, looking back at us, that's when the gold is done.
That's beautiful. I like that.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Well, just as you were doing that, I just felt these layers scraping off. I don't know if any of you felt that way. Nell and let's see who else is there. Carol, is it Carol? Yes, and Anne. I don't know if you feel Tanya.
Hello.
We have so many wonderful people. Donna, Veronica. Wonderful to see all these names. Some new people too. welcome. If this is the first time, please, or if you're watching today, share it, like it, send it to everybody. Go make comments on YouTube, because this will be posted on YouTube. It is so important that we forgive. When we forgive, we are truly loving ourselves. No matter what the stipulations are, no matter what the situation is, the moment that you say, I will never forgive, you're basically saying, I don't care if I rot. Like Jason said, that visual of the person who hurt you out having a good time while you're sitting at home stewing and brewing and missing out on life, it will change you if you just make that step towards forgiveness. And every day, scrape off a little. Let it rise up again. Scrape off a little until, like Jason said, you can see that person coming towards you and through you without any emotion whatsoever. Send them love, send them peace, send them to be well. I love that. I'm so glad that you used that meditation today, Jason. Is there anything you'd like to add before we say goodbye?
I would just like to send love to everyone. And so, yeah, sending much love to all, and to you, Lily, too.
Thank you.
And that's what forgiveness is. It's an act of love for yourself, mainly for yourself, for the other person as well. You're setting them free, but this is more about working on yourself, and it is love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just need to figure out and sit down and write all the wrongs that have been done to you. All the wrongs. Take a journal. Write every page. Write the title of what was done to you. Turn the page. Write another one. Anything that you're harboring, turn the page. Write it again. Write it down. And then start working on them one by one by answering these 4 questions. And Jason and you and I have talked about the 4 questions of responsibility, or maybe we didn't get to them. But the first question, you need to answer this without blame, shame, fault, or duty. The first is, how did I create it? And how did I create it could be as simple as I was there. I showed up. I invited. I ignored my intuition. Simple. No blame, no shame, no fault or duty. The second question is, what are the gifts and lessons? Let's go straight there. What are the gifts and lessons? And it's amazing how much we learn. When things are really good in our life, there isn't much learning. It's when that fire is being raised. Jason, you have to say something about that. When that fire is being raised, that's when we start like, oh, wow, let me take some notes. Would you like to say something to that?
Absolutely. Oh, when everything's going so smoothly, that's the part where, that's the easy. There's nothing going on there, really. That's joy, and that's fantastic.
Yes.
But the lessons come in the tougher times. And usually the tougher it is, the better the lesson gets.
Absolutely.
The greater the teacher it is.
That's right. That's right. So the gifts and lessons, and you write those down. You take that topic, you write how did I create it, the gifts and lessons. And then the next thing is, what's going to be different? Because there's a lot of men and women that fall for the same type of person. And, it's like we're getting out of this victim role. We're going to identify what is going to be different. And so if you go to my 100% responsibility page, I give you an example there. And then you write it down. You write that down, and that experience that you had. And then the last question, which is only if you're really evolved, question number 4 is, how can I use this experience for the greater good? Romans 8, things work out for the good of all. Not just for you, not just for me. How can I use this experience and do it? I've dealt with people that have been molested as children, that have been raped, that have been lost children. There have been so many different times where I've been coaching somebody. But to take that experience, lost all their money, take that experience and now help somebody else who may be at the beginning of their journey, or maybe, prepare them so that they don't have to go through this journey. That's what question number 4. And you go from being a victim to saying, oh, I see the purpose of this now, because of something traumatic that happened in our life. I'm here today. I would have never started my business. I would have never started this show. I would have never, 8 years wouldn't have gone by. So you've got to be able to go back to that original root cause, just like this ease, go to the original root cause and find out, oh, that's my victim mentality. Now I'm going to shift. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. Much truth in that. And likewise with me too, I raise my hand. I wouldn't be here had I not gone through some very difficult times in my life. I wouldn't be here. I'd be doing other things, or I might not be here at all.
Or you might might not even know your purpose.
Exactly. It's being beautiful, beautiful gifts. They're gifts.
They're absolutely gifts. And so the moment we start looking at things, we shift from that victim to, in what I call responsibility, which responsibility has a bum rap, to empowered and free. And so one of the reasons I wanted to do this show with you, Jason, is that we tapped into it the last time you were on, and I thought this deserves a completely a new class, a new lesson, so that we can start saying, okay, I need to let this go. And it could have been 40 years ago. It could have been yesterday. The sooner you start your forgiveness process, the better it is going to be for you, your body, for anything that your children, your children's children. And this is the question I forgot before, but I'm going to ask again. I deal with people that have been abused by their family members. And so when we're going through this 4-stage process and we start talking about, how did you create abuse in your family, whether it was molestation or whatever, being born to it, that's it. There's no blame to being born somewhere, right? And by the time we get to, the gifts and lessons. So here's the thing. Jason, if you were molested as a child, and I said to you, now you're a father, and I said to you, now that you know what's going to be different, now that you know, the gifts and lessons, would you, if you wouldn't have gone through this, if you would have said, I don't want to go through this, it allowed you to see certain symptoms and behaviors so that your child wouldn't have to go through this, right? So I always ask, if you had a choice of being abused or your child being abused, because that's what's going to be different. Nobody's going to ever touch my children, right? So if you had the choice of you being abused or your child being abused, what would you choose?
Exactly. You would choose yourself.
Oh my gosh, every time.
So they've got that now. Well, sorry, you as a parent have that awareness that you could protect your child because you would know all the, what's going on, and yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So I want people to see how you can shift things around and change the story in our head so that we can start the forgiveness process. And it might take 9 months. It might take 3 years, but start the process. And anything you do, just trust the process and don't question it. Just keep on keeping on. Jason Stephenson, I could talk to you forever. But I hope that this helps everybody. And perhaps maybe you can make a decision, a choice like I did, just like Jason did. We chose to start the process of forgiveness. And so I hope and invite you to do the same. So we have to say goodbye now.
Sending love, everyone.
Sending love. Yes. Thank you so much. Yes, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, no, that's all. I just wanted to say thank you very much. It's been a pleasure meeting you this morning and this afternoon.
Yes, and we'll talk soon. The next time we'll talk again. And so
Thank you.
until now,
God
we
bless.
say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, let's see, how do I do this now?